The days are finally longer and the flowers are in full bloom. It must be time for the Washington State Spring Fair. Celebrate the return of warmer days by popping on over to Puyallup the weekend of April 10th to 12th and 17th to 19th. Seek thrills on the festival rides, try your hand at carnival games, see some adorable animals, and, my personal favorite, eat too much funnel cake. You can get your tickets at thefair.com, and kids 5 and under are always free, so you can bring the whole family. This is CityCast Seattle. I'm Jane C. Hu, and here's what Seattle's talking about. Currently, Washington legislators work part-time for somewhere around $60,000 a year. But should they go full-time? We'll discuss, along with all of the good news around town in our weekly segment, Good News Day Tuesday. But first, happy National Beer Day. Beer and breweries are such a big part of Seattle's culture, and we wanted a temperature check on the state of local beer. So joining us today is Rodney Hines, co-founder and CEO of Metier Brewing. Welcome, Rodney.
Thank you. Hi, Jane.
I hope you're having a great National Beer Day. Are you doing anything special to celebrate?
I will imbibe and enjoy my favorite beer of ours, a West Coast IPA called Central Calling. But we are having some specials in our tap rooms with people buying pitchers and some of our other favorite beers.
Sweet. So I've seen Metier referred to as the first Black-owned brewery in Washington. But I noticed that this isn't really something that you all advertise about yourselves necessarily. And I'm curious why, if you are the first, hypothetically, like what role does that representation play? But is there a reason you all haven't really been leaning into that title too much?
I think it's partially the first part of what you just said, if we are the first, hypothetically. And the importance of those words are that we know that all of our history isn't always told. And I would be shocked if we were the first ever Black brewery in the state because of all the founders, the settlers, the Black folks who had moved out here for some time.
100%. So, I mean, I know you all started in Woodinville and moved to the Central District. So I think you live in the Central District. Is that right?
I do. Are you stalking me or something, Shane? What's that?
I read an interview with you. Okay. Just stalking you. Okay. I mean, and also every time I'm in the Central District, I love going to Metier. Like, it's just such a beautiful space. It's like in the heart of the CD. What did opening shop in your neighborhood mean for you?
The joy of walking to our space is walking by some of my favorite places or stopping in. Like I think of Squirrel Chops Coffee or walking by the folks at Communion Restaurant, A Bowl Coffee, Marjorie's. Like in my head just now, I was walking from home to our tap room and I get to take in the culture of Art Noir and all these other things that are happening in our space. And so to be a part of the vibrancy of the CD, but there's also something happening with bringing the CD back to what it had been in terms of an ecosystem of Black business and Black culture. It's like I almost want to snap. Like for us to be a part of that, it feels like in many ways we're home.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah, no, I feel like there was one night that I went to Mescal and then to Metier, and I was like, what a great little just evening in the Central District.
Yeah.
So craft beer culture in Seattle has historically been very white. Is that changing? And what does it take to change that culture?
I mean, I don't think it's a surprise to anyone, but craft beer in the U.S. has been historically white. Mm-hmm. And I think it was in 2023, I joined with several others across the U.S. to be on the founding board for the National Black Brewers Association.
Oh, cool.
I mean, 10,000 breweries across the U.S., less than 100 of them are Black brands. Of those Black brands, less than, I think it's probably 10 or so are actually brick and mortar Black breweries. And so we're talking about, less than 0.01% are Black owned across the U.S. So that's the history. The joy is being a part of the changing face and helping define the current and the future state. Part of our joy is we partnered with Rubens and a handful of other breweries to create the Mosaic State Brewers Collective, which is paving a path for POC and women to be more a part of this industry. And then I go to who's walking through our doors and what are they asking for? I love that we have people coming in from all over to come and support us. What's hysterical is when they walk in and the first thing they ask for is a cider or a glass of wine. And
It's like, do you know where you are right now?
yeah. And we have them. We have those, and we have NA options. And I nerd out. The joy I have is when someone comes in and they immediately ask for something, and then I ask, all right, do you have a gluten allergy? And if the answer is no, I think there is a discovery that can happen with beer. Like I think for some of us, we think of beer as monolithic. It's either you just think of it as this dank West Coast style thing. I mean, it is so diverse and interesting. I mean, if you just go across grocery stores, or if you go from Ballard to Eastern Washington, Tacoma, elsewhere, there's a variety of beers. And so part of the joy is widening folks' aperture of what beer is.
Yeah, you mentioned that a lot of people have kind of this fixed idea of what a beer is, especially I feel like for many years in like the mid 2010s, for instance, when millennials had really taken over beer culture, like you couldn't go into a place without seeing like 5 IPAs on the menu. And I feel like IPAs kind of have had their moment. I don't know. I feel like the IPA haters are finally getting their moment in the sun where they're like, we've all moved on from the IPA. And I want to know, what is the new IPA? Like, what are people really interested in and caring about in the beer world right now? I guess both from the brewer perspective, like what are people excited about, but also from the customer perspective, like what are people asking you about?
We have this Italian Pilsner, and it's got floral notes. It's refreshing. It's light. It's quenchable. I think there's been a move towards lighter beers and lagers. Just recently, we won a platinum medal for our Kolsch through Sip Magazine. And again, I think there is a trend of returning to the refreshing, lighter styles. And then we go through cycles. I'm an IPA head. I mean, I think I moved to Seattle from the East Coast because of the West Coast dank style IPAs, and no one will ever take those away from me. But the range from lagers to like we do a coffee stout made with local Boom Buna Ethiopian black roaster, and it is delicious.
I was just thinking about how just as millennials maybe drove that IPA trend, a lot of us are aging now.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing from a lot of my friends saying they want like at most 4 or 5% beer that you could have multiple beers and actually hang out. And instead of, drinking like a double IPA that's like 11% and being like, oh no, I've had one and I'm done.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask, I mean, I definitely moved away from drinking, especially during the lockdown era of the pandemic. I learned that I'm a social drinker and that I just didn't really enjoy having a beer by myself anymore. And I think a lot of folks, especially as the millennials have been aging, have been drinking less overall. And I'm wondering how NA options have changed the game. Because I'm finding often when I go into a brewery, I might have like one beer or one drink, but then I'll kind of switch tacks and see what NA options there are around. And I'm curious if you all are seeing that at all and how you see the industry adapting to it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we go through cycles. And during COVID, we actually launched and got some recognition for this. We launched our hop waters. So NA sparkling waters made with either hops and juniper or hops and spruce tips. We just recently launched a NA Negroni that we make. It's got some herbaceous sort of notes to it. One of the things you said is, I think, on the rise, I feel like, and I see much more of, is the social drinker. It might be coming, again, out of COVID, where we're still we're still discovering how to make human contact. And I see single women coming in for a beer or a wine or something in our space. And I think there's something about the comfort of being alone, but a part of a community.
Mm-hmm. Brewery as third place, I think.
It is brewery as third place. And it is interesting because people are alternating between an NA option and a beer. One of the things I'd find hysterical is on a given day, seeing someone determined not to open a tap, but they'll come up for...
That's me. Yeah. So sorry, I'm that person.
Yeah. and I think in people's heads, they may be a one and done, but they come up 3 or 4 times and say to us, no, this is the only one I'm going to have. Like, okay, sure.
That must be a testament to how good the vibes are, because I do find that sometimes I go in with the plan of just one, but if I'm having a good time and I like where I'm hanging out, I end up being like, well, I guess I'll have another something and just hang out for a little bit longer.
Yeah. And then you can vary it from the NAs to a schooner, so a smaller than a pint. So you have variations, or tasters. A lot of people get the tasters, which is funny.
Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like, we're kind of moving in a direction of having more offerings. Like, I'm loving the hop waters around town for sure, and all of the fun NA cocktails. Have we reached peak beer? Do we still have more room to be rocket shipping up further?
I mean...
Is the sky the limit?
God, I hope so. I mean, we are fortunate to live where we live and to go across this city, the county, just everywhere here, and the variety of beer that exists. I think the sky is the limit. And also, if you just pause and think about all of what we have access to, from bitters to milds to sours to lambics to porters to stouts, and the talent amongst the brewers in this city is just like, I'm humbled by all the flavors that we have access to. And I think we're all having fun with it. And there are moments of just trying to survive. I mean, people are trying slushies and other things. But I also think that we still relish and enjoy the art of making beer. And I think customers are still discovering that. I mean, I think if I think about some of the demographics, I do think that we are untapped with people of color and some women in terms of introducing them to beer. And so I do think that there's an untapped consumer that's there for us. And that's part of why the diversity needs to exist, and why, if I think about us and what we're creating, I want people to look at our cans and to walk in our space and see themselves. And I think there is more work to be done for this industry to enable others who are not usually seen in this space to see themselves in this space and to say, I can be a part of this and can enjoy it.
100%. If folks want to check out Metier or learn more about your work, where can they find you?
Oh, well, website is www.metierbrewing.com. But come to us in the Central District or Woodinville. And then we also have this lovely space that combines history and beer called Steelheads Alley that recognizes the Negro League baseball team, the Seattle Steelheads. And that's in partnership with the Mariners down in Soda.
Yes, we heard about that and think it's so, so cool. Well, sweet. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rodney, and happy National Beer Day.
Well, happy National Beer Day. Thank you. Thanks, Jane.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will be talking about whether legislators should be full-time. When I first moved to Seattle, Town Hall was my lifeline to the city. I went to book talks, panels with interesting local thinkers, and even a concert. If you're looking for something fun to do or to learn something new, you'll find something going on nearly every night of the week at Town Hall, with events spanning civics, science, and arts and culture. They're a nonprofit with a mission to amplify ideas, foster discourse, and connect people through events. And what I love most about Town Hall is that their events are produced by and for the community, and I think that really shines through in their programming. Tickets to most of their events are offered on a sliding scale, and if you're under 22, you're in luck. They even have free tickets for you. If you haven't been, they're located in this gorgeous historic building on First Hill. And on Monday, April 13th, the team from NPR's Planet Money podcast is going to be there with media producer and everyone's TikTok crush, Jack Corbett, and Redfin economist Daryl Fairweather to discuss all things economics, from the silly to the sublime. Get tickets and view the full calendar of events at townhallseattle.org. Currently, Washington legislators serve part-time, but after wrapping a brutal, jam-packed 60-day session, including a 25-hour filibuster last month, some legislators, like Representative Ed Orcutt, who represents Centralia and Chehalis, thinks that the job should be full-time. Orcutt told KUOW that it's time to reevaluate Washington's system. Here to discuss, I have Hannah Krieg, Seattle's reporter without a boss and founder of The Burner. Hannah, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And we have creative producer Sam J. Leeds. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Jane.
So what are the pros and cons here? Like, what do you think of this proposal to change Washington's system of legislators being part-time to potentially being full-time?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've written about this a few times because this comes up like every year. The initial argument for having a part-time legislature, which I think is somewhat dated, is that then these legislators have time to go home to their home districts and experience life in Spokane, in Walla Walla, in, all the different areas in our beautiful state. And then there's this idea that makes them like of the people, but then it actually just like only allows people who are independently wealthy or have like really flexible like nonprofit exec kind of jobs, or like are lawyers or landlords or work in real estate rather than like a barista who probably can't take off 3 months out of the year to go for short sessions, 6 months for long sessions. I mean, I think it makes a lot of sense, but yeah, I'm curious what y'all think.
I feel like the trade-off between having people who, like you're saying, Hannah, the argument that there are people who actually like know what it's like to be a constituent and are working, jobs in their communities versus people who are full-time career politicians. It feels like kind of a tricky balance, right? Because if you have people be full-time in the legislature, then that becomes the thing that is their only source of income, and there's sort of an interest in maintaining that position for longer. But I feel like, that's where term limits come in. And ideally, we're actually giving our politicians a fighting chance at making the change that they're there to make. And it feels like our short legislative sessions in particular make that really challenging.
100%. Yeah. So I was trying to read a little bit more about this before and came across some information from a University of Missouri political science professor with the name Peveril Squire, which is the most
Iconic.
Incredible name. Anyway, this political scientist made a presentation about what it means to professionalize the legislature and what research says about what incentives there are to that. And it apparently does lead to incentives to serve longer and potentially attracts, quote, better qualified members and results in a more experienced legislature. I wasn't able to tell exactly what the definition of better qualified means, but elsewhere in that document, he talks about the percentage of college graduates in the legislature. So I'm thinking that might be one of the criteria he is using here. But he does point out also that being full-time allows people more time for policy deliberation, more time to learn from other states. Like if you're doing this job full-time, you presumably can call up other legislators and actually talk to them about like, what are you guys doing to solve this issue? And, they might just have more time to be creative. But yeah, it does seem like the pay thing and the incentives are really neck and neck here in terms of like, what kind of people would this attract? So currently here in Washington, a member of the state legislature makes somewhere around $60,000 and $206 a day, which I think is kind of funny because 206, ha ha ha. But still, I mean, I can see how for some areas of our state, a $60K salary for your time as a legislator plus whatever it is you do for work on the side, if you assuming you do something else for work, would be enough to live on. But I don't know. I feel like that's particularly rough if you're a legislator who lives in Seattle, if you don't have another job happening. And one does wonder, like, what kind of job can you essentially take off 3 months of the year and go do this instead?
You can take on a job that like has an incentive for you to have this kind of like power. So you could take on sort of a nonprofity job. Some people work for there's people who work for the county. I know Macri works for DESC. Scott works for some environmental Bauer building organization or something. Dara Farver works for King County. Noel Frame is like in government consulting. And so they can take kind of these more like flexible jobs and jobs that have like an incentive. Like, yes, we would love you to be a lawmaker so you can like vote in our interest. But yeah, you couldn't be like a more entry-level job or jobs.
Yeah, and one interesting thing that I learned is that in states that pay less, there are a higher percentage of people in the legislature who are retired, which doesn't really surprise me, I guess. You know, it's like if you don't really need to be working, but you can spend your time serving, who is likely to do that besides a retired person potentially?
Yeah, it is interesting in terms of sort of the larger idea of like the gerontocracy, right? And the people who are in office not representing younger generations. I think that's starting to shift. And it would be interesting to think about, like, if it were a full-time job in Washington, how would that shift the age of people who are running?
Yeah, I think it really does end up attracting people in certain life circumstances where they can make that work or not. And I was kind of surprised to learn that there are only 10 states in the US that have full-time legislatures, and the rest are kind of part-time-ish. And it really varies, it seems like, in what these different states pay and also in how much time they expect from people. I saw that the National Conference of State Legislatures has a breakdown according to color. So they've got green, which is like full-time, people are paid well, they've got a large staff. It's kind of more similar to like federal Congress. I was looking at the highest paid legislature, which is New York, and they get $142,000 a year. They also then split that into gray, which is kind of a hybrid. In general, kind of half to 2/3 time, you have like a medium-sized staff. That includes Washington. And then you've got gold, which is funny because I feel like gold is often seen as like the most valuable color, but gold in this case is definitely the worst in that you're very part-time, you're paid very little, you have a very small staff. So, for instance, some places don't even have a salary. So like New Hampshire just pays people $100 a year. And there's no per diem for legislators. So, I mean, in that case, you're basically a volunteer legislator. And I think New Hampshire also has one of the shorter sessions, probably for that reason, because it's like, who's wanting to work for $100 a year?
Yeah, and they have like 2 taxes total in that state. Like, well, yeah, they could only pay them $100. There's no revenue.
I'm curious how much people feel represented by their representatives and how that correlates to the green, gray, and gold scale. Like, it would be really interesting to see some cross comparisons there.
Ooh, I don't know if that comparison has been done, but there is research that indicates that the more professional the legislature is, the less people approve of it.
Oh.
I'm curious how you all would feel about that. Like, I mean, I guess you could make the argument, or I can see people making the argument that, like, you know, having a professional politician represent me isn't really what I want. Like, the idea of having a representative is, you know, having someone like me in office. And if someone's a professional politician, then they're not like me.
Right.
But,
and then if you're professionalized like that, you kind of have less excuses. Like, I think sometimes, like, especially we have a Democrat majority, Democrats own the entire state legislator and the governor's office, and they still can't get everything they wish to get done. And then they say, well, it's because we only have this many days and floor time is so, it's like, okay, figure it the fuck out. You have all the power. It's like, work a little harder, maybe. Like, stop making TikToks and get going. But I don't know. Like, I think if you're, now we have the excuse like, well, they're just like us and they just only have 60 days and they only make like more money than we make anyway. But yeah, I don't know.
It's like,
I'm a
yeah, if this
hater.
was your full-time job, you'd be like, you have to. Sorry. This is the only job that you have, actually. Interestingly, conservatives are the most disenchanted with professional legislatures, according to Dr. Peveril Squire. God, still really just the most incredible name. But liberals are apparently more accepting of that overall. Sam, I'm curious, what do you think? Like, if we had a full-time legislature, would you expect more of your legislators than you do currently, or have different feelings towards them?
I feel like I expect a lot of them already. but yeah, I think to Hannah's point, there would be less excuses. I guess I wonder what that would mean in terms of, would people be aiming to go into that as their career path? Like, would the sort of jump be like, I'm going to study, political science in college and then immediately try to become a representative and follow that through for my whole career? And how that would change my sense of, is this person actually interested in making change for everyday people, or are they just interested in a political career path?
The most annoying guy you knew from college now
Right.
is just going to... I mean, to be fair, I think that is unofficially the path a lot of people are trying to take already, but this would create more of a runway for that.
If I'm just looking at the state legislature in my brain right now, it's already kind of full of the most annoying guy you knew in like your political science class. So like I get what you're saying, but I'm also like, I think this is like the nature of the job that it attracts, kind of, in a lot of cases, not every case. And I'm sure someone will DM me being like, I thought like you thought I was cool. But like it is a lot of people who are like, you have to have kind of an ego and kind of like an ambitious personality to want to run for office at all.
Yeah, and you have to have a thick skin too.
Yeah.
I mean, people really are critical of everything you do, and you have to go into that knowing that that's going to be the case. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it would be worth trying out.
Pay them more money and see what happens, perhaps, ? But Hannah, like you said, I think this does come up every year, and we have yet to see anything happen to move that in a substantive direction, but could be interesting to see if that is what happens. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, let's talk about some good news. If you're enjoying the podcast, be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. Also, leave us a little review. It's really helpful. And tell your friends about us. You can also get more local news and events delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. Just go to seattle.citycast.fm. And you can find us on Instagram, Blue Sky, and TikTok at CityCast Seattle, and you can watch full episodes of this show on YouTube. So it's Tuesday, which means it is time for Good News Day Tuesday, where we bring you good news from our region. Sam, what good news have you heard recently?
The Seattle/King County Clinic is returning to Fisher Pavilion in the Seattle Center. So from April 23rd to 26th, they're offering free dental, vision, and medical care. And from what I've read, this is the largest community-driven free health clinic in the United States.
Hey, free healthcare.
Yeah, so like 3,000 people come through over that time period, and they can, on each day, get like one thing dealt with, so vision or dental or medical, and then come back the next day for another free entry to sort of take care of whatever else is on the list. It is very highly attended. There's no like documentation required. You just show up as early as 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And can, get through the line and get care. It's pretty cool that we offer this, especially because our healthcare system is so broken. I'm glad that that's back again and that people will have access to getting some of their medical needs taken care of.
Love that. Hannah, what about you? Have you heard any good news lately?
Mine is not as serious and cool as Sam, so I'm a little embarrassed. But
Give us something light, Hannah. We need
I
it.
know, I'm so
Yes.
sorry. I'm like, wow, that's good.
Just
I was
a
like,
little
damn, I
treat.
might go. I was like, shit, as early as 5 a.m. I could do that. But no, good news. I have long been a hater of like a bottomless mimosa brunch. Because I think usually they're a ripoff. And then I went to Lookout's bottomless mimosa brunch this weekend, and they kept you well stocked. I
Ooh,
rarely put
changed
my
Hannah's
seal
whole
of,
tune on this shit.
yeah, I rarely put my seal of approval on a local small business, but I think honestly, I was like, damn, that's a pretty good bottomless mimosa right there. So
Wow, approved by the
Wait,
burner.
what makes a bottomless mimosa good? Like keeping
Yes.
it flowing? Is that kind of the primary?
She wasn't waiting for us to be done. She was topping us off. She was
Love it.
around, it wasn't, I never felt, I would see her, I'd be like, I should drink a little bit more. So like, just in case she doesn't come back, I don't know where my next mimosa is coming from. It was honestly very overwhelming, but that's good to know. Cause next time I won't feel so pressured. Cause then I know she's coming back.
So there's like a generosity of spirit there, it sounds like.
A generosity of spirit for sure.
We love to see that. You treat your customers well. They want to come back. They gab about the bottomless mimosa. It's been a while since, I think like maybe pre-COVID for me, since I have experienced that.
There's not a ton in Seattle. Like, I feel like we're more of like a pitcher, or was that carafe? I don't know how to say it, but we're more of like, you could get an amount to share, which is maybe more responsible. And
Being responsible is overrated.
I mean, it sounds like you've got like a good weekend plan. You go get your free medical or dental care and then go get your bottomless mimosas at the Lookout.
and that's balance. That's
the American way right
that's
there.
where Gwyneth Paltrow, tofu, and cigarettes. That's beautiful.
All right. Well, my good news of the week, I have 3 little things. I'll start with the most serious one, which is the Office of Labor Standards ordered the medical transportation company MedStar Cabulance, which is kind of an amazing name also, to pay over $96,000 back to 138 workers for violations of minimum wage. That is an average of like $700 each. So like, that's not a bad payout, but mostly you kind of love to see people getting the wages they deserve, and also remembering that we have a city apparatus to make that happen and to apply pressure and to make things right. And it's just kind of a nice little success story. And I'm glad that those people have gotten the pay that they need. Also, I saw that the Urbanist reported that we are going to have one block on University Ave in the U District car free for 3 weekends or 3 days coming up. May 30th, June 6th, June 13th. It's going to be between 42nd and 43rd on University Ave. If you know the Ave, it's like basically the street you would expect. Like it's like a block off from where light rail is. I just think that it'll be a fun little project to see what it's like to just not have any cars in that portion, because when I'm over there, I'm constantly like trying to gauge whether these cars, even as I'm walking across the crosswalk, are really going to stop for me. And as a driver, I actually just avoid that street completely now because it's always just busy. It's kind of a pain to drive down that it doesn't seem worth it. So I think it'll be cool to see how that goes as an experiment. And I mean, already on University Ave, like further north for the farmers market, they close that part down every weekend. So it's like, well, we're going to try a slightly different part. And then the lightest thing I saw on Reddit, of course, the People's website, that a cat was rescued from a tree at the Magnuson Dog Park. That poor cat, but I'm glad that they got some help. It's just nice that humans will team up to try and help a little animal that probably got scared by all the big barking dogs around.
Oh, poor cat.
I know. All right. Any other good news or anything you all are looking forward to?
Sunshine?
Yeah. This morning, my partner was like, is it summer now? And I was like, I don't know, but we can pretend for the next few days until the rain
You
comes
can
by.
never be sure. I think this is a real one, though. I'm going to put it out there, and this isn't like a false spring. We're late enough into the season that you can start planning 3 days in advance to do outdoor plans.
Wow, you heard it here first, folks.
That's based on nothing.
The climate do be changing, and I think that does mean that this is not fall spring. I think it might just be spring into summer.
Well, I'm ready to lean in.
Yeah. Big if true. That's all for today here at CityCast Seattle. Hannah Krieg, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Sam J. Leeds, thank you for being here.
Love to do it, Jane.
I'm your host, Jane C. Hu, and listeners, we want to hear from you. Send us your good news, your thoughts about a full-time legislature, really anything that you are up to this week that you want us to know about by sending an email to seattle@citycast.fm. You can also text us or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast hotline at 206-880-3931. Until next time, see ya, Seattle.